So tracing on the right, performance testing on the left.
Yeah, that's nice. That clarifies a lot for me, though.
Yeah.
It's always hard for me to see the distinction between left, right, like left and
Yeah.
right of what, like what are we
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about? But this makes more sense.
Indeed, if I turn around, is left still left and right still right?
What's the worst that can happen, right?
That's some bad coffee.
You're gonna get bad coffee. But everything else is gonna be handled automatically for you.
I'm still gonna call you guys experts.
We did first.
I just met you.
Okay, exactly. First
So-
time. I just said.
We had no technical difficulties whatsoever.
At all.
recording.
All right, welcome again back to TechLab. And today we have a new Road to Pro, or we're continuing today on Road to Production.
Yeah.
And we have two experts joining us today here. I'm gonna
The
say experts again. Sadly, the recordings just passed us, so we will do it again. And I'm still gonna call you guys experts.
We did first. Where was?
I just met you.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
First
So-
time. I just said.
We had no technical difficulties whatsoever
At
with
all.
recording
No,
this
no.
session.
Like usually in ball, no technical.
We can find
difficulties.
nice parallels with the topic of today, I think.
Exactly.
Because we're gonna talk about testing on production,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
So let's start with introducing you, the both of you. So maybe we can start with you, Diego.
Yes. Okay. So hi, my name is Diego. I am originally from Brazil and I live here in Netherlands for the past 5 years. I am in IT for the past 14 years. I did most of the jobs that you can think about it, from engineer manager to developer, and here in Ball, I'm a software engineer for the past 2.5 years, part of the AVB, so our advertising department. So that's a little bit about me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And hi, my name is Sonja. I'm from Serbia, originally here in the Netherlands. Also, well, for 5 years.
Nice.
Oh, almost 6 actually. Yeah. Time flies by. Yeah. At Bol for roughly 10ish, but I was actually as external working from Serbia for the first 5, and now here in Bol, a test engineer ever since I started my career in IT. Still loving it, and I'm now at the moment in the optimal checkout experience product group. So when you're buying at Bol, I'm trying to make sure that you have a nice experience while checking out.
No, otherwise we can give you a call.
Exactly.
Nice.
On this phone, by
That's
the
a
way.
fun.
Yeah, of course.
That one.
Yeah, this is state-of-the-art technology from...
Exactly.
not
Direct
some-
line.
Exactly, the
But you
hotline
could never
phone.
use this.
No lines.
Yeah, you're too young for that.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, no, but talking about things going wrong today, like our first recording attempt. So today we're going to talk about the Road to Pro, which is like an umbrella approach, an initiative, and maybe some of the different parts of it. So maybe Sonja, maybe you can tell us what is the Road to Pro actually?
Yes, quite a fuzzy term. Huh? Means many things to many people, but for here engineers here at Bol, at least we're trying to promote the message more and more. It's basically what your idea and innovation proposal goes from a code change on your laptop, goes through a delivery pipeline, and gets eventually deployed to production. So all the tooling, steps, processes that involve making sure that you are actually confident with your change and that you're able to verify that it's delivering the value to your customers that it's intended to. All the things involved there, from design, implementation, delivery, and actually running it in production, that's the road to production. So indeed, a lot of moving pieces in there. And for all of them, we're trying to see where we can best and how help engineers to have as smooth and as efficient of a process as possible while delivering value to the customers.
Yeah, cool. And so we started this series with distributed tracing with Rogier a while ago.
And performance testing as well.
And performance testing indeed as well.
Yeah,
So where do they fit into this whole Road to Pro?
Yeah, so maybe a more industry-known terminology that hopefully most of you know is the shifting left and shifting right that started being a thing with the whole DevOps movement. And distributed tracing fits on the complete right side of the spectrum, and performance testing more and more to the left. And what does it mean? Well, basically that in the past, before the rich microservice landscape that most of the companies today have, when you still had monoliths, it was really, or just a couple of applications interacting, it was really sensible, and the way to test and validate your changes was actually on an integrated pre-production environment that we nowadays at Bol call still staging.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then in the good old days, it was okay, people would be working on their changes, adding, and then there would be a cutoff moment. We called it back in the days Super Bowl and Ball.
Good name.
A good name, I think so. So there would be a cutoff moment, and then all these changes would be packed together and deployed to this integrated environment. Then every team would start validating those features on an integrated environment, which was back then also still far from super easy, but quite easy. You had a couple of databases, 1 or 2 applications, so it was not really a big orchestration dance that nowadays you would need to do. And then after everybody validated their things, they would just deliver to production. Well, that's quite different in a highly fragmented microservice landscape that we have today. So expecting that everybody will just not touch their application, introduce a change, or just wipe their data on staging because they need it for something else, that's quite a tough ask for anybody, and not also what the DevOps advocates. So this means that a lot of the things that you would in the past do in the integrated environment, you really need to start shifting to the left and to as close to your own delivery pipeline and to your laptop, run your tests locally, then of course have all of your quality gates in your pipeline, performance testing as well. So you just want to make sure that you performance test your single own application that you're in charge of, because that's what you control, that's what you develop. So that's the piece of the puzzle where you need to guarantee the performance. But then, once you say, okay, all my quality gates are good, this is ready to go, your functional change is actually ready for production. But then distributed tracing is a really nice way to have some way better view on what is happening on production. So in cases there are some problems, I'm pretty sure here talked about a couple of cases when things go wrong, how can tracing actually help? But yeah, then distributed tracing is a really powerful way to have those extra eyes on the chain, on the systems, and try to understand, okay, how your tiny puzzle, how your tiny service fits in the whole landscape and where things went wrong. So yeah, that's how performance testing. So tracing on the right, performance testing on the left in this whole road to production.
Yeah, that's nice. That clarifies a lot for me, though.
Yeah,
It's always hard for me to see the distinction between left, right, like left and right of what, like what are we
Yeah,
talking about? But this makes more sense.
Indeed, if I turn around, is left still left and right still right? Those kind of philosophical questions.
Does it work the same in Australia, right? If
Indeed.
one.
Up, down, what's down, what's up. Celebrating Christmas in the heat. And those kind of... I think we're distracting from the actual topic. But
Are we?
My specialty, guys.
That's what.
But coming back to the road to pro. So Diego, so you're also working on one of the parts of this whole road.
Correct.
So where does your part fit in?
So our part, actually, Sonja as well, while she is Miss Road to Pro, because she's involved in so many things, but she's also
All
has
the
like
parts.
all the parts, all the moving parts, our mechanic. So, but she's also part of the Road to Pro. It's stuck in my mind now. Testing protection. So that's our specific ATI that we are here to talk. And basically, testing production, it is one part of the whole. So again, it is the one that's most on the right side. So when this whole Road to Pro starts to be developed, when we get the opinion of most of the people in charge in the company, the architects, the tech leads, the principal tech leads, the principal engineer managers, and talk about what's your difficulty, what actually is preventing you from moving fast or to move to have a better performance in your release. And then they brainstorm for months, I believe. And this was a result in a document that has a lot of great ideas. And eventually, all these great ideas, they were put in motion with the Road to Pro and was chopped out into multiple pieces. And our part was mentioned regarding we want to do some tests in production. And one thing that was quite on the nose was the Canary releases. So it was quite specific there. We like to do Canary releases. And then when these ATIs start to be formed we had like 4 or 5 people together to work on this, and then we start to think, okay, how we can make this happen, how we can make it we go on the right part, but how we can make it a fast, secure ways to do tests in production. At that moment, Ball had a capability to do Canary releases. I cannot say that it was great. It was a really nice attempt. But we started to talk with the users and do some interviews and some product discovery with developers and teams that try to use it. And we get some feedback on that. And then we start to iterate. So that was basically the beginning of our AGI. So how we can make this Canary release possible. And also we had a second topic there that was not on the nose. So it was not exactly handover to us saying like, we would like to do this. That is the chain testing. So we had our HCI, basically our horizontal tech initiative. It has these two parts. So the Canary releases and also the chain testing in production.
Yeah. So you mentioned testing in production. Like, what does that actually mean in the context of Canary releases?
Yeah, that is a really nice one because it is almost not true. So the way we went through on this and the tool that we end up choosing to do it and the flow that we try now to make the company go for it, I would say that's less test than observability, I would say. So basically, after all the discovery that we did, we start to figure out, okay, how we can make this happen. And we end up selecting some tools. We did some checks. We saw the story of other big companies, how they are doing as well. And we end up selecting a tool with our friends from Bifrost, internal team in Ball, that also was thinking about the same things, looking the same problems. We kind of combine and say, like, this is a good tool, we can use it. And the name is Argo Release. So Argo is part of the Argo umbrella, which is part of the Kubernetes Foundation. So it has a lot of respect out there. It's being used in multiple places. So this approach basically means that you're going to create your rollout plan. So imagine that up to now, when you go to production, you go big bang, right?
Yep.
Your default way to do it, we use Kubernetes. The default way to do it is like a rolling update. So you have, imagine, 10 pods. You mostly will change one pod at a time, right? Let's say your startup time is like 1 minute. So it means that in 10 minutes, all your customers are using your new version, which is great because it's effective, it's fast. You have your new things out there. When it's on the green path, amazing. Everything works, everyone has their things. But the truth is, not every time you are in the green path. Sometimes you have problems that you not anticipated. Right? And the whole thing about Canary releases is the ability to, when you're in the red path, when things go sour, the amount of customers that are impacted. So how can we make this crash wave about things not working as expected, the smaller as possible? And then the tool that we end up using, we can design our rollout. Our rollout is basically a step iteration. So you're going to have a step, you're going to affect X amount of customers. You're going to do a check on specific metrics, on specific performance, and specific. You have to create plans about how do I understand that my service is operating correctly. So how I know that it's healthy, not just on the technical perspective, but also on the product perspective. Mm-hmm. And then iterate. More customers being affected up to the moment in where 100% of your customers are being affected, your release is done. So it changes quite dramatically in how you're doing today.
Yeah, and can this, like in between the steps, can you also change strategies how you're testing?
You can.
It's quite flexible.
Yeah.
So it is so flexible. It is an amazing tool. You can create pretty much your strategy is up to you. How you're going to do it. Like for instance, how do I understand that my operations are going smoothly? You can do, as we're doing here, we do metrics. We do base Prometheus queries. You can do multiple ones. I can check whatever I want in Prometheus. And then, maybe I want to check something. I want to do smoke tests. I want to do some flows. So you can do REST calls. You can create jobs on Kubernetes that will, if the job is completely successful, you can consider it is a good metric. So it is as flexible as you want, right? As it can take from minutes to hours, I would say.
The recommendation is to keep it under some reasonable time, but yeah.
Yeah, funny story. We have the question about, can we take like 1 week?
Okay.
No.
Yes,
That's a different story.
that's a different story. Let's not get so hassle. But yes, it is as flexible as you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, that's really cool, and that really gets rid of the one size fits all approach, because you're really able to now say, for a front end application we want to run some end to end tests, for example, whereas for a back end implementation you might do something differently there. So that's sounds really promising.
But the interesting part is, again, coming back to the part, it is not so much a test. So what you're actually doing is is just checking what's already there. So I deliver a feature. Maybe it's a change, maybe it's a new thing. Real users will use as they use their real stuff. It's not about what me as an engineer expect the flow to be. It's the reality. It's not mocked. It is not faked. It is reality.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start to see, okay, how this is behaving in reality for my real customer. So I think it loses a little bit, at least how we did, right? It loses a little bit of the testing principle, and it's more like observability. So I'm observing and automatically I'm reacting to it. Because in each of these steps that we are talking about to release, we are validating the metrics, we are validating your release plan to understand if your application is correct. Let's say it's not. Let's say you're putting 10% if your customers, it is on the new release, and then all of a sudden the metrics are bad, right? What normally would happen today is a developer needs to cancel that reload.
And first to even spot
Roll
it.
back quickly.
Spot it, needs to roll back. But the thing is, when on using Argo Rollout, you're automatic. So the metric went sour. You have, I need that my application have a latency that cannot be bigger than 50 milliseconds. Let's say if your latency is now 100 milliseconds, something is wrong. So you don't need to spot it. The metrics are doing for you. You don't need to roll out back. The service, the tool will just go back and roll out to the previous application. So imagine that this 50 milliseconds is really important for your application. What were affected? 5% of your customers. So instead of being like 100% that we were thinking before.
Okay, awesome. So, well, we talked about testing in production, of course, and I'm really curious what happened to the mental model of developers, because what you might have faced, this all looks, to me, I'm honestly sold with the solution. I think it's super cool. But I'm curious, how do you, within such a big company, gain the trust, or how do you say it? I mean, developers are quite skeptical, so how do you gain their trust in this
by
tool?
nature, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good. It is amazing. It is a really good tool because, again, if you're skeptical about things, it means that you really care about the things that you're developing, right? So you want to have something on your application that's serving your customers. You want to trust this. You want to know that this is doing what I expect it to do. So as a company, amazing. For us, it is a little bit of a challenge because now we need to make people aware, developers aware of this new way of doing things, right? That we believe it is safer, but it comes with a little bit, as you mentioned, a change of mentality of how I understand and how I do my job. So how you do your job today? You're deploying, you clearly deploy. You as an engineer will check metrics. You're going to check logs. Maybe you're going to do smoke tests. Maybe you're going to check someone that uses your application to make sure that everything is running according to the plan, right? So there is a lot of investment time there, right? You can take like from minutes to hours, depends on how important is your application.
And it's also boring work.
It's extremely boring.
Yes.
And then what we are trying to sell, it is what you're going to do is you're going to create your rollout plan. You're going to do that once, right? And you're going to maintain that. So you're going to have all your metrics, or how you consider that your application is running smoothly, how many of your customers will be affected for how long up to the moment where you're actually released. And so when it comes to the deployment, when it comes to showtime, is click and forget.
Yeah.
Click and go grab a coffee. Because what's the worst that can happen, right?
That's some bad coffee.
I'm going to get bad coffee. But everything else is going to be handled automatically for you. Your rollout plan continues to be yours, but is being automatically act on it. That's how you can say this. That's the most difficult part to sell.
And
I see.
It takes quite some advocating, actually just talking one-on-one with people, because I don't expect indeed that we have, of course, all shiny documentation, and Argo Rollouts is open source, so also the community is really strong. The official documentation also really rich. Yeah, but usually they need that, like, okay, is somebody at Bol already using it? You know, how many? What is their experience? So that's one thing. And the second thing is, of course, we really want to first make sure that people actually have those proper eyes on production. They know how to check the health of their application and tell them, if you're not confident that you can actually analyze the right set of data yet, don't go there. However, just automating what you already look at yourself manually after your release is probably a good enough of a start. So just start there. But indeed, a lot of one-on-one talking, and we do hope, like we see slowly, okay, the adoption rate is slowly ramping up. And we hope that also there will be a certain ripple effect, of course, that the more people start using Argo rollouts, that the confidence in general, the engineering community will slowly but surely go up. And we just need to keep talking about it, I think, and keep pointing to the tool and the benefit that it brings, and definitely the time saving for you as an engineer, because then you can focus on some definitely more fun stuff than looking at Grafana dashboards and logs.
I can follow that for the engineering community, right? They can look at the documentation, talk to other engineers.
Yes.
But there are also non-engineering people who look at the application or the products, like the product managers, analysts, who really like to see things working on staging. The product manager probably won't dive into technical documentation. So how do you approach that group of people?
I think that the chain testing topic is actually a really nice and awesome example of why I think many product managers already are well aware that actually seeing it working on staging today at Bol is more often than not a mission impossible. So I think that actually works in our benefit in this case. And I really hope that the chain testing part of the initiative that Diego is leading is not yet completely finished. We are still pocking some solutions. But I think we are going to soon have something also ready for use, where then those product managers can do test on Pro before any customer and gain that confidence, and not needing to hassle with trying to get the staging environment into that shape they need for their validation.
But if you think about it, and we are talking about chain testing, we are developing. I believe we are developing good things for the Bol community about when you're doing a new rollout, but you want to do like in different products, because it is pretty much every microservice in here is a cell, part of a bigger organ, part of a bigger organism. So it is sometimes very hard to, when you need to make a change, to be isolated, right? You usually depend on this, that depends on that, depends on that. So imagine that you roll out a new thing and you want to test all this. So that would be a chain testing. So that's something that it is a little bit difficult today to set up. We are thinking about ways that will facilitate. But today, from the user's perspective, the non-engineer perspective, you already have such a good tools to use it in Bol. We have very good experimentation base, so you can create an experimentation and you can do feature flags. So it depends on you as a user. I think you already have this capability, and I believe if you're, as Sonja mentioned, if you as a product analyst or a PO, maybe you try to do any kind of testing staging, you kind of will back us up in our attempts, because it's so hard.
It is.
It's like most of the companies have this problem when you have a dev environment or stage environment. To have a stable acceptance environment, it is complex. It is difficult.
Yeah, and then it doesn't add value anymore, because if you're putting more work into getting it a bit stable and getting the exact test case that a user would actually have as well, then
that orchestration is quite hard. A mission impossible.
And this is one of the road to Pro kind of goals. So we have in Bol, as most of companies, we have this kind of environment, and we don't want to kill it. Actually, we want, but we cannot. That's important. But our goal is actually to reduce all the tasks from acceptance, or you go left or you go right. Right? Yeah. Most of the things will go left. So you should be able to do most of the things that you have doing today in staging in a better way, in more controllable way on your tests, on your pipeline, on your local tests. You should be able to do it. The things that it's too difficult, it's too hard, or basically you still need like some human interaction, let's do in the Canary way on the right. So what leaves out staging? At the moment, validation for infrastructure. So we have infrastructure as code.
Yeah.
So whenever you're doing a change, it is a little bit hard to actually do infrastructure as code and Canary. So doing new changes, infrastructure in a Canary way. So we're still going to validate them in staging, but that would be our goal. It ends there to be evolved later.
And it just crossed my mind. It wouldn't be possible to do it in the first step of a Canary where it only goes to people within the company, VPN-wise?
We were asked that so many times.
Okay.
So it is something that it crosses our mind.
But then you remove the full still data on staging issue.
Correct. So it is, again, possible today, right? But the thing is, you're going to have, it is an experiment. And then you're going to have to create the buckets, and how you create it is feature flags. And so that's, you're going to have to use that flag. When we are talking about a Canary release, we are talking about a new deployment, right? And then I think I don't think we ever formalize so much and say like, oh, this is something that you should use a Canary, and this is the thing that you should experiment. But the thing is, when we are talking about deployments, and then we are talking about Canary. So it's something that I just need to know if it works, if it's safe. So you're going to do a Canary. If you want to validate as a user, most likely you're doing the feature flags, something that you can enable, disable. So it's not the same deployment. It's the same code base which enable and disable there.
I see. Yeah, cool.
So you're full on the Canary testing, eh? Trying to get people to use it, try to evangelize, get people comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what would be next steps?
So what we are doing today is workshops.
Yeah.
So we try to go for a completely product workshop. So we did once in this kind of mode. It was quite nice. I think we had some new teams adopting on that. So we just booked it a day. We talk with the engineering managers, with the principal tech leads, and say like, can you send one person of each team here? We're going to work with them, and we're going to show them, we're going to talk, and we're going to take all the doubts. At least they will leave there knowing that this exists, that knowing that this is how we do it. So maybe they have like some drawbacks. We're going to work with them, right? So from that, you already have expanding the knowledge, so expanding the people who knows about this. So that is something that we are working on it. Not sure what we are passing some changes at the moment, so that's the next steps are a little bit now clouded, but it would be something that I would like to continue to do it.
Yeah, definitely hands-on. Try
Hands-on.
people to let's just try it out.
Yeah.
Let's maybe see how it works. A bit experiment with the tool. Not yet maybe with your production application, just to get people familiar with it. And indeed, just evangelize as much as possible and try to build a bit of community of knowledge and early adopters, and just try to go from there.
And at the same time, we have then Sonja and Roland, our backbone in Bifrost, to doing space summits in our conference, internal conference, doing presentations about it to make like people aware and showing and demo it. And then we have round tables with Albert Heijn when we have the same kind of discussions. Albert Heijn is also
fun one,
that was a extreme fun one.
Yeah.
I love to do it, and not just because it was in a bar they have in their headquarters.
I see your incentive there.
One of the best presentations I ever had.
But actually, while we were prepping the session with Albert Heijn, we went through a couple of preparation sessions for the roundtable discussion. And only in the third session in or something, we realized like, oh, they're also using Argo Rollouts. So then it was like, okay. And that was really, really interesting.
It's a family thing.
Yeah.
Our brother company, sister company, and then we are using the same thing.
Yeah, so that was also nice to exchange some experiences, and they're also in the early adoption phase. And indeed to see, okay, how do you roll out such a thing in a company as big as Bol?
Exactly. It was really fun. So basically what we are doing is like every single possibility that we have to come and speak about it, like here.
Like here. Yeah.
Like here,
We
yeah.
take it.
Yeah.
Right.
Very welcome.
Yeah. Do you want to call us and talk? Let's talk. We have public channels where people can just post questions or ask
Yep.
for help.
Yeah.
We are more than happy to just okay, let's sit down, let's do this together and see.
Yep.
Our biggest goal is just to make this being used.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so you know you have the danger of getting invited now a lot because now
Never.
it's an open invite.
Not at all.
Okay, okay, very good. Very good.
You may crash and burn, but you're gonna be together.
Okay, nice.
No, but that's cool, and I think that's really important in the dev community, right? Just
Yeah.
keep showing the benefits of it, and then
Yeah.
people will acknowledge, like, okay, there's a better way of doing it. Why are we still doing it in the old-fashioned
Exactly.
way?
Yeah, exactly.
Again,
So,
it is a trusting thing. So it's just, I'm doing this for the past 3 years. My pipeline is exactly the same thing.
Mhm.
I'm a very important application involved. So like, it is something about improving something that it is already good. But there is always a possibility of being better, and we are trying to reach these people, reach these teams. See, like, there is a better path out there. Even that you're amazingly stable. Let's make it more safe. Let's get more metrics. Because this is the kind of thing in which if you just, it's not about the destination, it's about the path. The path to get a good Canary release is to think about your application, is to think about how I know that it's working, how about my metrics, how about my SRAs, SLAs, how all this that maybe you don't think about it for some time. Like, this is your opportunity, let's talk about it. So even that at the end you say like, you know what, that's not the best for me, I don't want to use Canary, I'm cool. Just to get there, you already gain so much.
Correct. Yeah, that's cool. And I think it's a really, really interesting topic, and I'm really curious how it will roll out in Bol. Pun intended.
Let's see. Huh?
But and the last thing I'm really curious about is like why do we call these things Canary releases? What happens to this? Poor
Oh,
bird.
Actually, Diego already mentioned that me and another colleague from the same group, we did a talk in our internal technical conference at Bol. So for that one, I actually did some digging and
Some
searching,
research?
of course.
Lovely.
It was amazing. It was really
So I
interesting.
did not memorize all the data, but back during back in the days, there were a lot of mining accidents, and contrary to the majority of the beliefs, there was this one scientist. And shame on me, I forgot his name, so we will subtitle it somewhere in the podcast later.
Dr. John.
Sounds good.
Dr. John.
And he believed that actually during the mining accidents, people would not die from the blast and the impact of the explosion itself, but due to suffocation. However, during one mining accident, he was able to go to the scene of the accident 1 hour after, and he realized that actually it even wasn't about the lack of oxygen. It was due to poisoning with carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
So then he realized, he started doing a lot of testing and a lot of experiments to see, okay, how can we make the life of miners safer and better? And then after a lot of testing and experiments, he actually realized that both mice and canary are 20 more times susceptible to carbon monoxide poisoning.
Okay.
However, canary is able to sing.
Yeah.
So that means that the mice would get knocked out and from poisoning gas. He wouldn't really be able to, like, for the human, it's not really easy to see, okay, is there an impact or no? But if you keep talking to the canary and it keeps singing, once it stops singing, there is something going wrong. And so this is how the canary wanted the mice.
I love this story, actually.
He got some background music, you know. So
Exactly.
Yeah. No, but I was
And-
always scared because people always say we killed the canary.
No.
I was like, no.
And actually,
Never
an even
did.
better finding
Yeah.
during my research was that the canaries were not just exposed to the gas and, oh yeah, if you died, that's it, at least the humans are safe. No. They actually developed this tiny little cage box with a little oxygen tank on the top of it. So the hatchet of the box would be open and the miner would try to talk constantly to the canary and make it sing. And as soon as the canary would stop singing, the hatchet would be closed and oxygen would be actually supplemented to the canary so that the canary is breathing again, alive again, while
lovely.
all the miners are safely being evacuated. So the canary was actually usually always with one of the miners and kinda its pet. So no canaries were not just dropping dead to save human lives.
Good.
But thanks God, right? Because
yeah.
otherwise we would be talking today about mouse release.
Mouse releases.
Like it doesn't have the same
Yeah.
ring
No,
to it.
no,
Sounds
not really.
nicer.
Yeah,
It
not
is not
really.
nice.
And indeed, it's perfectly translates into the technical world because the same way that Canary was singing and the singing of the Canary was the signal, that's how also your metrics and the health checks that you're going to do are the signals and the song of your application.
Yeah.
And as long as it's singing the happy tune, you're fine. And if something goes wrong, you're just rolling back. The oxygen is released.
Yeah.
And we're trying to recover. So it's a
Canary
really
is
nice.
safe.
It's
Yeah.
lovely. I would love to
PTA
add,
would be very happy with this, I think.
and we should add some music to the pipelines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
would
that's
be
a good
nice.
one.
Elevator music.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
Sinead.
Works for me.
Oh, yeah.
Smooth operator.
Yeah, indeed.
All
Yeah.
right, cool.
Yeah,
Thanks a
yeah.
lot for being here, guys. Honestly,
so
learned
much.
a lot today,
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
and I think it's a really cool initiative. So keep
Yeah.
working on it, and we hope to see you, if you want, back whenever it's fully rolled out.
Definitely.
When we have all the applications
Yeah,
on
exactly.
Canary.
We did,
Then we
do
can
it like a
just-
celebration one.
Yeah.
And then we can just deploy during the podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love
Really
the
put
idea.
it to the test
Yeah.
fearlessly.
Yes.
Oh, that's a challenge.
yeah. But
That's
you're on.
challenge
right?
accepted. Yeah.
Yeah, challenge
Cool.
accepted.
Exactly.
Yeah, and maybe good to mention no canaries were
Harmed
harmed
during this recording.
This recording.
Some mouse.
Only
but
some
let's not
memory
talk about it.
disks
yeah, and a sound cable, but
and a sound cable. Yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. We will survive.
We'll manage.
Maybe a sneak peek into the next episodes in this Road to Pro series. What topics can we expect?
Yeah, so I think where it all begins is an API specification.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, indeed.
Usually, if you start connecting to some service, there is an API, a contract between the two. So the API community, I'm pretty sure, will be more than happy to share about their role in this road to production. And the second one is code generation at Square, I would say,
Mhm.
on steroids, because indeed to be able to easily test, easily mock, and also just take away and generate all that boilerplate code that usually you would write.
Yeah,
That's a really big and important part of the whole road to production. And I think those two are really on the beginning, on the left side, and really crucial to actually be able to get that confidence in your pipelines and in your application. So hopefully they're going to take the stage here indeed soon and share a bit more about those things.
I'm not involved on that, but like this second one, it just gave my heart.
Yeah.
Because like it is like just I just gonna give a sneak peek just for you guys to ask later, but just the capability of like, I have a team, you have a team, you depend on my stuff. Instead of you having to worry all the possible scenarios on your mind, I'm gonna provide you to all the possible mocks and solutions that you possibly need to do your tests.
that
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
That's community, dude.
Yeah,
That's just like
I love
that's
it.
nice.
The dream.
That's a dream.
every time we have this episode of Road to Pro, I'm like, okay, where can I sign up? I want to use this stuff. It sounds so good.
It has one mission: make your life as an engineer
Exactly.
easier and
Yeah.
allow you to focus on the stuff that really matters, and that's the functional features for your consumers.
Yeah, is thinking about the two most important people, well, like our engineers and our customers. Like safer for customers is better for engineers.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hop on board.
I'm a fan. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thank you.